My name is Rebecca Sung-Bickley, and I live in District 2, so this is mostly directed towards Martha Roby. I'm one of the people who helped to organize this, not the only, but one of them. And I just want to say that I didn't do this to embarrass anybody or to ambush anybody. I don't want to yell or chase anyone away. That's not why I at least am here. I'm here because for good or bad, Montgomery is my home. It's where I grew up, it's where I went to school, and it's where I've started my family and where they're growing up now. And so you represent us, and how can you speak for me if you will not speak to me? Yeah. I don't expect you to necessarily want the same things that I want. I mean, I know that you're a Republican and I'm not, and that's okay. But you are not elected to only represent the people who vote for you. And Montgomery voted Hillary, so, and yet. But what's happening in Washington obviously concerns me, and I can't really do anything about that. But you can, and that's your job. So all I want is some respect for us, and listen to our questions tonight and give us some answers. Even if we don't like what you have to say, we deserve at least that much.
My name is Angie, and I have a question about campaign finance reform. I am deeply concerned about these big corporations, oil companies, pharmaceutical companies, in our politicians' back pockets. My question to you would be, should Citizens United be overturned, and what are the steps are you going to take? Actual steps to get it overturned, because you work for the people, not for those corporations. Thank you.
The evidence just piles up every day. The Russians don't even bother to hide it well. And yet, our own representative, my own representative, refuses to do a blasted thing about it. And that particular representative, Martha Roby, dragged a decent public servant's name through the mud, chasing her emails, and spent millions to come up with nothing. And here the integrity of our democracy is in danger, and she is utterly deaf. And I want to know why. I really want to know why.
My name is Sam Bickley, and I'm a constituent of Martha Roby's in District 2. I'm going to kind of talk to Martha Roby over here. I'm gravely concerned about the prospect of a repeal for the ACA for Alabamians in particular. According to the Health and Human Services report from December 2016, the ACA has enabled 215,000 Alabamians to enroll in Blue Cross Blue Shield insurance plans. That's without any expansion of Medicaid. On top of that, the Henry J. Kaiser Family Foundation estimates that 20,000 ACA enrollees within District 2 alone, your constituents, Congresswoman Roby. I believe that you are morally and constitutionally obligated to represent your constituents in Washington. And I just ask, what will you do to ensure that the least of those among us do not lose their health care and fall through the cracks?
I have been an English teacher and professor for 40 years. I'm just going to say very quickly that those stories that my students often enjoy most are by writers who are first and second generation immigrants. So I'm here to speak on behalf of immigrants. The reason these stories are so compelling is that they test and question our American values in very positive ways. If we live in a nation that celebrates isolationism, if we shut out the people who have the courage like our ancestors did to come here, we are in a very sad place. Thank you.
Why aren't you sticking up for a free press? This is to Martha Roby. Martha, why aren't you sticking up for a free press? Yeah. And the second part to that says, why haven't you denounced Trump's attack on the First Amendment? Why haven't you, Martha?
I know Scott said not to try to repeat any questions that we've heard, but I also have a question about the ACA. My name is Alexandra Camille Price. I'm a constituent of Martha Roby. I've been a teacher, a history teacher, for 21 years now, and today in talking to my 10th grade class, when we were talking about the Constitution, I was reading the preamble. One of the purposes of us establishing our government was to promote the general welfare. So my question is this. If we are going to promote the general welfare, that means we need a healthy electorate. An unhealthy electorate is an unproductive electorate. The ACA cannot be repealed without a plan in place to replace it. I'm curious as to why it has taken the GOP so long to care about health care. And I will say this, as a previous speaker has, I'm not a Democrat, I'm not a Republican, I'm probably an independent with some libertarian type leanings. But I voted for everyone, I vote my conscience, and I could not in good conscience support any Republican this time because of what they support and what they want to do that, once, as someone said, will marginalize the least of us. We cannot stand for that. You cannot take away people's health care. 9 million Americans, I think it is, have health care now because of this act. 20 million. And it took a Democratic president to get this passed. The GOP did not care until that happened. So what is your plan to ensure that these people not only don't lose their health care, but maybe even replace it with something better?
Hi, I'm Carol Loeb. I'm Martha Roby's district. I know we've talked about LGBT, but personally, we have a transgender daughter. She is in college, thank God, in New York State. But I'm very concerned today about the transgender school children of this country. And my daughter is not a school child anymore. But that doesn't keep me from being concerned about their protections, their rights, their risk of suicide, being treated the way that they're being treated. What I want to know is my daughter going to be able to come home and go to the bathroom? Can we safely take her to the movies, to a restaurant? We do, but I don't let her go alone. And I'm ready to fight somebody that says anything to her. And she's terrified. And it shouldn't be that way. This is her home, and she has rights. So I want to know, what are our Congress people going to do to put aside so-called religious beliefs that are persecuting good Americans based on nothing? This is a solution in search of a problem. Stop it. Stop pandering to the evangelicals and do what's right for the people of this country. Transgender people are not a threat. If anything, society is a huge threat to them, and they deserve better.
Hello, my name is Charles Thomas. I'm a Montgomeryan, I'm an Alabaman, I'm a transplant that now lives in Martha Roby's district, Alabama too, and I'm a strong believer and a strong student of the systems that have made our country great. And one of those is, please don't laugh, our Congress. But one of the interesting things about the House of Representatives is it's divided into committees and subcommittees and the like, and often you get shunted into various corners that help discuss what goes into creating this nation of ours. But we have a unique responsibility here in Alabama too, because our representative, Martha Roby, sits on the most powerful committee in the House of Representatives, the Appropriations Committee. The Appropriations Committee that determines what our tax dollars provide for us and our fellow citizens. Beyond that, Martha Roby sits on 3 subcommittees that oversee the departments of health, the funding for departments of health and human services, the departments for Veterans Affairs, the departments of Justice, and the Department of Education. Now, standing here in front of you, I do not have a strong, heartfelt question, as many of you do. I'm a small person, I'm a scared person, but what I do know is I have a representative that in theory has the power of the purse to avoid, to undo, and sometimes completely reverse generations of damages that have been done to Alabama, to the privation for its health services, for its veterans affairs, for its education, and for this nation to turn around and look at this agenda that is currently in front of us of defunding public education, of defunding public health, and instead put our hard-earned tax dollars into taking care of our fellow citizens. And so, Representative Roby, what I would like to ask is, how will you use your position, your unique position, to not only look after my fellow neighbors, but look after my fellow citizens with the taxes that we're putting into the system, that we're paying into the system because we believe in it? Thank you.
My name is Lynn Hopkins. Ms. Roby, I not only live in your district, I serve a church in your district. I have a Master of Divinity, and my first question would be, what in the name of all that is holy do you or any of your friends find in Scripture to justify the inhuman and inhumane treatment of foreigners, of sexual minority people, of women, of veterans? And please, if you have an answer for that, give me a call. Let's sit down. I'll buy lunch. You show me. And second, I have disagreed with virtually every one of your political positions, but I stood up and cheered for you when you condemned the man now serving as our president. You were one of a very few in your party, and I recognize that you stepped out and took a risk doing that. You did the right thing, condemning a man who boasted of sexual assault. Now, what are you doing outside of the public grandstanding? Because quite frankly now that feels inauthentic to me. What are you doing on behalf of those who are at desperate risk of sexual assault every day? I'm talking about transgender students. I'm talking about prisoners. I'm talking about female veterans, both home and overseas, actively serving and subjected to assault. I'm talking about people in foster care and in homeless shelters. What are you doing truly to stand up for all those who are at imminent risk of sexual assault?
My name is Tim Henderson. I teach the history of Mexico and the history of U.S.-Mexican relations, and I just want to kind of stick up for that country. You won't be surprised to learn that I'm absolutely appalled by the gratuitous abuse that this administration has heaped upon Mexico, and no good will come of it.
Hi, I'm Eve Harmon. And I guess I've got a question for Martha Roby. It builds a bit on what Lynn said about how when he was in campaign mode the first time, before he was elected, you said that he shouldn't be president because of the comments he made. Now he is president, we're supporting him again. We're seeing civil rights being attacked across the country, not just for certain groups, but even for protesters. There's a state that's trying to make it legal to run over protesters with your car. There's a state that's currently trying to make sure that police can shut down a protest, arrest protesters, take their belongings. If the police even suspect things might get violent. And with everyone here now, I'm wondering, will it get to the point where they try to condemn us for peacefully assembling, as is our right as Americans, to protest someone, his actions that we don't support? And I want to know, how far is too far this time?
I don't think this issue has been addressed fully enough, but one of my concerns is the environment, and we stand to suffer greatly, and there is nothing more important. I mean, everything's important that's been brought up today, but without clean air and clean water, we don't live. And what are you going to do to address that?
She keeps talking about taking money away from public schools and setting up more charter schools, but everybody says that the children are the future, and there are numerous public schools in the state of Alabama, especially in Montgomery, and everybody says, yes, they're failing, and they are because they don't have enough funding. And my question... And my question to all of Congress is that why do we want to defund education when we say that the children of education are our future? So are you wanting to defund our future?
My question, and this is the only question I'm asking you, is the deficit going to go up in your next piece of budgetary legislation, or is it going to go down? And by your estimation, what would be acceptable in either direction? That's my one question.
Hi, my name is Kelly Ford, and I just want to echo a little bit what Rebecca said. I want to ask plain and simple, Martha Roby, when is your next public town hall event going to be?
My concern, and the concern of my daughter who came with me tonight, is with the attitude that we have seen from our current inhabitant of the White House toward people with disabilities. After seeing the way a person with disabilities was mocked, I found it very difficult to believe that anybody continued to support him. And especially to have people say that that was not a mockery of people with disabilities. You know when you're being mocked. And after raising a daughter with disabilities and watching that video over and over again, there is no question that that was a mockery of a person with disabilities. And that attitude has been very clear in Mr. Trump's behavior ever since that incident. Also, in his nomination of a person who doesn't even know what the IDEA is for the education secretary. She also doesn't know what the ADA is. What are you going to do to ensure that people with disabilities have their rights protected under the law? The law is clear about the rights of people with disabilities to have access to public buildings, to have access to accessibility to jobs and accommodations for their ability to work and to help them be able to work. What are you going to do to protect the rights of people with disabilities?
There's a lot of issues that probably aren't even in this room for different people. But I guess the issue that I have, and I would challenge not only our Republican colleagues that were asked to be here tonight because they represent all of us and they chose not to show up, but I would send this challenge out to every elected official in this country, regardless of whether you're Republican, Democrat, or Independent. When is it country first?
And I will address them and say we hope we get answers from you as soon as possible, and we'll kind of end it with that. But thank you. I know it was kind of late notice asking you to come here, but we kind of hoped you would anyway, but you didn't. So anyway, we just want the answers to some of the questions, and thank you.